Hey all, this is Xenoxis. This is going to be the Game of the Year video for 2022, although we are actually recording during 2023. So yeah, just checking here. So this is reacting here, which it is, which should mean that I shouldn't have to listen to the microphone anymore, because if I see it moving here, it shows that it is. And if it's actually set on mute, then it will actually not show up here and stuff that, so that is very, very important. So yeah. So we're gonna be wearing something more festive, or just, the classical thing, Maybe off to the side like that. Maybe. I don't know, I don't remember if it's like... Is that thing, this thing here, is that supposed to be on the back? I forgot exactly how it was that it's supposed to be. I mean, we can have it off to the side like that. Probably. Does that work? Yeah. I mean... maybe make it good. No, that doesn't look good. No, have it off to the other side instead. There we go. Maybe that works. Okay, so now you're checking. So it works. Yeah, actually, let's just have it go back like that. So there we go. So yeah, I will probably not wear this all the time, depending on, most of that. So, oops. No. The text. Technical difference. No, not technical difference. So I made some text, and of course, technically I finished the text on, I think on the 22nd of December last year. I might have finished it earlier than that, but that depends on when I did a comment. I'm gonna need to go in and check it on YouTube actually. Hopefully I can, yeah. I'm muting that sound there though. So when I did this, and it didn't auto-mute that, but it probably won't pick that up, the microphone. So when I did that was 2 weeks ago. So 2 weeks ago, although that doesn't show correct, since it's like, well, it's 2 weeks ago, so that must have been on Monday 26th. When I did the mock-up, and that's completely wrong, because I did finish the text earlier than that. It says 2 weeks ago, because otherwise it would be like, oh wait, when they count 2 weeks, they count like back like the 2 weeks, so the 26th wouldn't be correct then, so it would be on the next of the week after those 2 weeks, because 22nd was on the Thursday. I'm pretty certain that's when I finished it, because this game of the mockup, it's saying, oh, it's 2 weeks, so it's 2 weeks from now. But the thing that shows there like 2 weeks ago, they show it up in American time, so that would have made it that it's not like Monday yet, so it would have been Sunday. So that means that it would have counted the whole week then, right? So yeah, because I'm pretty certain that I finished the text on the 22nd and stuff that. I don't know if there's any way to tell on the text, because I don't think you can check all the text history of when I edited it, because I edited it today and I did more stuff. More text to it, latest changed, you can see that. You can see when I changed it, when I created it, and stuff like that, but I don't think you can get the full history of all the changes to it. Like how many times did I change the text, and stuff there, because I'm pretty certain that that part was written on the 22nd. The mockup list must have been earlier than the 22nd, because I'm pretty certain that it was on the 22nd that I finished the thing. Because you have to know that on the 23rd I had planned to actually record. So yeah, or not on the 23rd I did plan, because we did have our guests over on the 23rd, so we kind of celebrated we celebrated Christmas on the 23rd instead of on the 24th, which is what it normally is. So yeah. And first off, we'll have 3 links in the description. One is to the Xenoxis show 26th of September 2022 for the candidates, and the second link is to the Game of the Year 2022 Preparations Part 2, which basically the candidates is basically Preparations Part 1, and then of course the final third link is to Xenoxis show 12th of December, which is the, of course, Game of the Year Preparations Part 3 final. And it's on that video where you can find the final, like, you can find the final, what do you call it, you can find the final, you can find the mock-up, basically, pretty much. But yeah, the thing was, of course, is that this list, I'm pretty certain that I must have finished it on the 22nd, because I was planning on recording on the 23rd, but the main problem was our guests stayed for so long. So at that point it was very late, and I was feeling pretty tired, because, Christmas can be very exhausting and stuff like that. The main problem is eventually I got my sleep schedule messed up, and this was mostly because, okay, it didn't matter when I went to sleep. Like, I could go to sleep early, and the main problem would be that I usually wake up several times when I'm sleeping. Sometimes I do not. Sometimes I can sleep for like 6 hours straight without waking up, and sometimes I sleep for like 8 hours, and then I wake up maybe once at least. And the main problem is sometimes I want to try and sleep 10 hours, but then sometimes when I wake up maybe twice, and then at one point, oh, there's gone 9 hours now. Oh, now I only need to sleep 1 more hour, but then I fall asleep really deep, and then I end up sleeping for like 11 or 12 hours or 13 hours at the worst. And then if you end up sleeping too much, you become more tired, and then it's really hard to try and record and stuff that, and people might say, oh, the reason why I haven't been recording is because of this thing over here. You can see, yes, PS5, yes, and you can see the box over here, the box in the back, basically over. I'm trying to, because it's mirrored, so I have to move reverse. Yeah, the box over there, that's the PS5 box. You can see the PS5 over here, as I said. There's the controller on top of my PS4 Pro, and there's the PS5. I did have to move it also at one point, because normally I had it more over to the right, but then I used the thing for leverage. Basically when I need to plug in over here, I use this as leverage, and I go down like so to plug in, so that I needed more space to be able to do that. So a bit smart. The main problem is that the power cable for it is pretty short. So yeah, because I only played it once. Last year I only played it on the 23rd, and then I didn't play for a long time. And I remember my parents being like, after some point, my parents was like, because they come over a lot during that Christmas time, and during some of the other days afterwards as well. And then it's like, oh, why aren't you playing on the console? Didn't you like it? Is it broken? And stuff that. And then it's like, yeah, you never notice, because it's like, oh, yeah, if you don't play the game every day, then you don't like the game and OMG. And there are people that are like that. Or people who get angry if someone owns a lot of games and they don't play certain games very often, then a lot of people get really mad, like, oh, why do you have so many games? You haven't even finished all of these games and stuff that, like. And if you compare to back in the day, I tended to finish all my games and stuff like that. And sometimes, sometimes I don't need to finish certain games because for like the Phoenix Wright, like the HD trilogy on that, I'd already finished it back as ROMs basically, because I played it on emulation, because I didn't have it. I didn't have those games because they were never available in store for the DS and stuff that, and for the Game Boy Advance. The first game I believe was for the Game Boy Advance, or maybe it was the whole trilogy that was on Game Boy Advance, because I think the other two games, like the first game was on Game Boy Advance, but then the other two was on DS, I think, if I remember correctly. But yeah, so because of I had finished those games already, like that's why when I got to like the HD trilogy, I didn't really need to go through it fully again and stuff like that. But yeah. So I only played on the PS5 once, but then I started playing it recently again, especially after having moved it around, although I did wait still a few days. In the red cup back there, I do have some glögg, which basically it's kind of like you have like red wine as a base, I believe it is you have. I think it's red wine as a base, but then you like spice it up. Or maybe it's not a red wine base, I forgot what the base was on glögg. But you basically put in spices, and usually the spice mixes are hidden. Like the companies that make glögg, they don't reveal what their spice mix is and stuff like that. But yeah, I tried it hot first, but it is pretty damn sweet. So I haven't fully drinked it. I got it like 2 days ago. Anyway, we're drinking this, by the way. It's probably one of my favorite Monster flavors. The cool thing about this, if you keep this in the fridge, right, or refrigerator, right, because the fridge is the freezer thing, right, and refrigerator, I forgot what the difference was, but yeah. So this one gets very cold. It does get extra cold naturally because of the whole nitrous thing. So there's a certain thing that's in this that kind of makes it creamy, but it's kind of like a lemonade, but like it's crispy, almost like tangy, which is really weird. Like there's a certain mix in this that makes it so that you can feel like it feels like crispy, like it feels like you're drinking it, and then like it's almost like you get a certain sensation in the mouth. It's hard to describe, but it's really fucking good. Especially during the summer, it's absolutely fantastic. But even during the winter, because this thing, if you serve it really cold, then like it keeps cool for a long time because of the fact of the thing that's in it and stuff. That's yeah. Anyway, enough rambling about that. So there are 3 honorable mentions. And 22 is the top list. Of course, the 22 mock-up that I did, the 3 honorable mentions were completely different, and the games are of course the same, but they are in a different order, because the mock-up list was with games in no particular order, and the 3 honorable mentions were used in no particular order either. So the reason why I did the mock-up was just to see, okay, how many games could I get it down to? Because it was over like, what was it, like 33, 34 games or whatever it was in the older lists or whatever, there was a huge amount of games. And being able to carry it down to 22 games was pretty insane. So the 3 honorable mentions, and keep in mind, no particular order: Alan Wake for the PS4, Shenmue 2 for the PS2, for the PS2, or PS2, PS4. Now, I know you might check, if you check PS Trophies, you notice I have no trophies for Shenmue, and Shenmue doesn't even show up, and that means that I haven't started playing it. So, how can you put Shenmue 2 on the PS4? I'm going off from the Xbox version of the game, which I had, because I think Dreamcast, right? Did it get both Shenmue 1 and Shenmue 2? I forgot, because I do remember that Shenmue 2 at least was ported onto the Xbox, and that's how I played Shenmue 2. I never finished Shenmue 2 because I got to a section where the checkpoint was really frustrating, because you were like kind of like in an apartment complex. That section is pretty long, and then after that it's kind of almost like a boss fight or whatever, and it's really easy to lose that boss fight. Or maybe it was because I didn't learn enough moves. Maybe I didn't figure out how to train my character enough, because I know in the first game you can train your character and learn certain moves that are really important to make the quote-unquote game easier or whatever. Because I mean, like, I wasn't super good at the combat system on the Xbox version. But the thing is, if you lost that battle, then you had to redo the entire, like, almost like apartment complex. And then that apartment complex took, like, even if you tried to just rush to it, I believe it took at least half an hour to get back to the boss fight again. Or something like that, or maybe even longer and stuff like that. And that just felt like, well, wasn't to use the checkpoint that would be like immediately when you start to fight the boss. Why wasn't that a checkpoint? That felt like really weird. But it was, I believe I at that point were like really far into the game though, because I believe there have been several apartment complexes previously in the game, but basically you're like fighting inside a ring, I think it is, or whatever. Like, first there is a chase sequence, and if you complete the chase sequence you get into the boss fight, because you notice something in the apartment complex. There's a guy, I think you begin chasing the guy, and then there's like quick time events kinda, and then of course you get into a boss fight, and that boss fight is inside of a ring, I think it is, or whatever, and stuff like that. But yeah, but it felt like that thing felt like super frustrating in the Xbox version and stuff like that. And maybe there was just some kind of bug with the checkpoint, because it feels like really dumb. Like, okay, now play through the apartment complex again. An apartment complex sequence is not hard, but the main problem is the apartment complex sequence, because you cannot like use like, drop down from this floor to the next floor. You have to go a certain way around, so there's a very specific path you have to move, and even if you try to go through the path quickly, it's really hard. So yeah, and number 3 we have Hearthstone Murder at Casanatria plus March of the Lich King expansions. I don't know if I spelled Natria right there, but yeah. So March of the Lich King I did, of course, not pre-order. I only pre-order Murder at Casanatria and stuff like that. March of the Lich King I really would have wanted to pre-order, but I didn't have enough money to do so at that point. Or maybe I could have, but then I wouldn't probably been able to get the PS5. The PS5, by the way, I paid, I think it was 6,490 kronor or 6,390 kronor or something like that. Which, by the way, in I wonder if I can still check what the price is on the place. I wonder if I can still check what the price is here on it. Even though they probably don't have it in stock anymore. Wow, they still got it in stock, really. Not the ordinary one. Don't have in stock. And the price has changed. Wow, the price has gone up. The price has gone up. The price has gone up. It's now like 6,990. That's not what I paid. I paid 6,000, but I did have a Steel Chassis model. I did get it without God of War Ragnarok. The God of War Ragnarok is still in via internet though. That one is not physically in store. So yeah. So I think it was something like 6,490 490, I think it is. So if I go with Swedish kroner to American dollar, I think it was 6,390. That would be 609.94 US dollars. And keep in mind that most people that got a PS5, they got from auction sites, not from physical stores. So a lot of people, overpriced, paid at least 10,000 Swedish kroner. That would be 954.53 US dollars. That's what a lot of people paid for their PS5s, even without any games to it. And just like the box that I have there, where that has like a controller and the console and all the cables that you need and stuff like that. So yeah. And of course it does come with Astos Playroom, and of course if you have own games digitally and you have like a digital version of certain games, or you own the physical, then you can upgrade to the PS5 version on certain games, like Resident Evil 3, Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 7, and there's some other games too that have like a version. I haven't moved all my files though yet from the PS4, because I know that you only need to put a LAN cable between them to move over the save files and stuff like that. The main problem though is I'm afraid what happens in Resident Evil 3 Remake, because I wanted to start playing that on the PS5 to see the graphics, and same thing with Final Fantasy 7 Remake. The thing is, those games have limited amount of save slots. So what happens if save 1 is occupied on both systems? Do it erase? Do I get a prompt? Do I get to choose to keep both saves? What if there isn't enough room in the typewriter? What if I've used up all the saves? How does it work? Do you get an option to choose? Does it overwrite it automatically without even asking? Because the thing is, okay, there are certain games that I don't mind starting off from the beginning with. But then there are certain games like, oh, I definitely don't want to start over in Tactics Ogre. Not that, yes, the game is good, but then, oh yeah, losing all the progress and all the stuff I've done. Even though I would probably be able to play through it much quicker, because I have much more experience now of it, and I would have an easier time, but yeah, still. But yeah, so those were the honorable mentions. I know I need to mention a bit about PS5, because keep in mind that the Game of the Year video is also kind of an update video at the same time. So anyway, and now on to the 2022 Game of the Year top 22 list. 1 being the highest, 22 being the lowest. I don't have any extra text about any of the games, so there would only be certain games that I would go over a little bit, just to not keep this too long, because I want to try to keep it 60 minutes or less. Or 23 minutes, so good luck. Speed running. No, but it's basically today is actually the 9th of January 2023. I could go into the whole reason of why didn't I record this day, because I planned on the 23rd to record first, and then I planned on the 24th, and on the 24th I actually went up at a normal hour. But then on the 24th I felt like really, really tired, because I did sleep for a lot, because even though I went to bed early on the 23rd, on the 24th I slept for a really, really long time, and then I just felt tired during the day and stuff that, and it was just very, very hard to get stuff done. And then I had several more opportunities after that, but then eventually won my sleeping schedule because of sleeping too much, making me too tired. And this also meant that because I ended up going to bed at certain hours, even when I went to bed earlier. The thing was, when you end up sleeping 12 or 13 hours, then that just shifts your, when you have to go to bed, it shifts it even further, and then eventually it reaches a point to where I would wake up really, really late, and then it would be really, really pressured, because you don't want to record too late, because of neighbors and stuff that, you don't want to wake people up, and stuff that, so yeah. But yeah. Anyway, enough ranting about that. So, at 22, at the last place, we have Dead by Daylight plus Resident Evil Project W chapter plus Resident Evil chapter. So, Dead by Daylight, I did play it a bit. It is pretty interesting. It's actually gonna have a pretty good update. I don't know if that update is out yet. That's gonna help like survivors and stuff like that. But of course, I've only been able to try out Wesker as a killer so far. Wesker's actually been pretty fun to play. Although it seems like, sadly, you cannot do any proper bot matches, only like in the training that you do. And even then, like, when you're playing the game, normally, like, the thing is, I didn't know that there were like 2 exits that they could flee via. Yeah, I know that there is the whole hatch that exists on every level that you can flee from, but there's also the 2 gates. And I tried to camp at one of the gates, but yeah. And so a lot of it is like mind games and stuff that, but the grab is so good. Like he has a tentacle to grab when he can rush forward. And if you time that perfectly and you lead into it, like there's a lot of mind games, but sometimes it feels like, sometimes like you can use the do that, which is stupid, which is true in a lot of games. The whole thing with haha, you can never catch them if they just run around in a circle. You have like no way of catching them. And I thought that supposedly right is that killers are so supposed to be faster than the survivors, or maybe not. I don't know. But yeah, but a lot of it is of course using your abilities and stuff that, and setting up like traps and stuff that. But I also think that it probably gets easier as you gain certain power-ups. And the thing is, I'm definitely gonna try, like, because like the main problem is that I have sometimes, of course, it's really hard when you start playing it for the first time. Yes, you do have like a perk tree, but it also seems like there are certain perks that will only like that there are certain things that you use up, or whatever, like certain things that you use them up and then you cannot use them anymore and stuff that. And the question is there an infinite amount of levels that you can get, or how does it work exactly and stuff that. But yeah, but then it's also hard to remember what certain abilities are called and stuff that, because I definitely want to focus on the tentacle grab thing, like making that have like less cooldown and stuff that. But there's also a thing that allows Wesker to see survivors, and I believe you have to infect them first or whatever. Like there are certain things, and then of course he also has the whole aura that he has, which is actually really good. And I do think that there are aura builds that basically makes it so that they are basically like I think like survivors can get terrified, and then it's like a debuff that like affects their movement speed or affects like the vaulting speed. Because the thing is, Wesker can catch with a tentacle. If you time it perfectly, you can catch someone trying to vault over something, and that is just super satisfying and stuff like that, and it's really cool. And then at number 21 we have Dead Island Definitive Collection. Includes Dead Island Definitive Edition, Dead Island Riptide Definitive Edition, and Dead Island Retro Revenge. So Dead Island, oh man, back on the PS3. I love Dead Island. Amazing game. Graphically not super impressive, but the thing is, just from a co-op standpoint, it was really cool, even if you played it with online people and stuff that. And the thing is also the fact that yes, you can reach max level at the hotel if you know what you're doing, because there are some high level enemies, and those high level enemies can be killed. You use the bed strat, get up on the bed, do the jump kick, and basically you want to make them get stuck on the other side of the bed, the zombies, but sometimes they won't follow you in there, so you have to go down from the bed, which can be a bit scary, and then you have to try and lead them to the back of the bed, and then when they're on the back of the bed, you do the jump kick quads, and you like press the jump button, and then you press in one of the analog sticks, I think it was, or the R2 or R1 or whatever it is. You do the jump kick, and then when they fall behind because behind the bed there's less room, And then if you do a jump kick and they land on the floor, they basically fall to the world, is what it counts as. It counts as them going out of bounds, which instantly kill them. They're not out of bounds, they're still in the hotel. But it counts as them going out of bounds, which insta kills them. Gain lots of XP because they're level 50, they're max level mobs. Hell yeah. Or I don't think they're max level in the beginning. I don't think. They do become so later. Of course, certain characters can have it faster this way because, you know, certain characters have a better, like, rage mode is what I call it, that you fill up. And the character that can have it the fastest is actually the throw the daggers guy, because he can get, like, XP bonuses, kinda, from, like, throwing shit. Throwing infinite things. But yeah. And I mean, Dead Island is also seriously, like, really cool. And of course it's getting its sequel properly, because Riptide feels almost more like an expansion, but Riptide is of course with some new characters, and you can actually input your old characters also apparently in Riptide, which is something I'm planning on doing eventually and stuff like that. So yep. So you can, like, basically move over them, and I do want to wait, of course, until my other characters are high enough level before I import them into Riptide. Anyway, at number 20 we have Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster Collection. So the Pixel Remaster Collection is quite interesting, because of course it's how do you put it? It's very, very, very. It is. The Pixel Remaster Collection is, of course, Final Fantasy 1 to Final Fantasy 6. Final Fantasy 6 did not come out until, like, last year, basically. Because it technically came out in 2021, but then not all the games came out in 2021, and one of the games came out in 2022, which was Final Fantasy 6, because Final Fantasy 6 got delayed. But Final Fantasy 6 is, of course, the one that got the most work into it. Which, by the way, like, the Final Fantasy 6 is really, really what carries it, I feel like. Because Final Fantasy 6 is definitely above the other games. But it's also very interesting to be able to play kind of Final Fantasy 3 for the first time. Although there were like hack mods. Like I got, of course, on the NES Classic. I did get Final Fantasy 1 and Final Fantasy 3 on it. I forgot if I got Final Fantasy 2 for it as well. But there was a hack. A translation hack for Final Fantasy 3 that you could play on ROMs and stuff like that. So you could put it over on the NES Classic Mini and stuff like that, so yeah. And on the Super NES, on the Super Nintendo, there was Final Fantasy 4, I believe. And Final Fantasy 6, maybe it was on the Final Fantasy 6 on it, but I moved over more of the games, of course. But yeah. At number 19 we have Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Course Pass for the Switch. That one, however, I did not play the maps that came out in December. I have not yet played those maps. Maybe if I would have played those maps, I would have been able to put it a bit higher and stuff like that. But I definitely do think that the Deluxe version is worth it, because it does actually look better than the Wii U version, even though the Switch isn't technically that much more powerful than the Wii U. The thing that is most is, I believe, that it's the graphic cards that is most of the difference compared to the Wii U. But I also really hated how like the Wii U sold bad, because the Wii wasn't a Wii console, it was Nintendo's first proper HD console. And the thing is, when you compared it to the Xbox 360, or, well, not 360, I think it was the Xbox. Was it the Xbox One? Even people compared it to. There was something at least that when you compared it to, because like the Wii, right, were meant to be more of a competitor to the PS3 and stuff that, rather than the PS4 base model. But I believe, like, when you compared it to a certain model, there was a certain model of Xbox that ran at two terms of gigaflops. And on the low end of the gigaflops, the Nintendo console was only 0.400 gigabytes, gigaflops behind. 400 gigaflops behind. it wasn't even one teraflop behind one of the Xbox consoles. I'm actually going to need to search it up because I need to remember here. So Wii U teraflops. And I know the teraflops is not everything. Just like a Dreamcast, I went over it. Dreamcast had 1.4 gigaflop of performance. Some PlayStation 2, 6.2 gigaflops. GameCube have 9.4 gigaflops. Xbox, oh no. Nintendo Wii had 12 gigaflops. The original Xbox had 20 gigaflops. PlayStation 3 had 230.4 gigaflops. 360 had 240 gigaflops. Wii U had 352 gigaflops. So stronger than the 360. Stronger than the PS3. Switch. It has a single teraflop of performance. So it's up from 352 gigaflops to 1 teraflop basically. That makes it 2.8 times as graphically powerful as the Wii U before it. It is wrong to say like graphically powerful because teraflops is not just calculated by the graphics processor but also by the regular processor. Then yeah, the Xbox One. Yeah. 1.31 teraflops. Okay. So Switch 1.0 teraflops. So yeah, so it's only 300 so it's only 310 or yeah, 310 gigaflops stronger than the Switch. But when you compare the Wii U, like, it's of course the Xbox One is a lot stronger than the Nintendo Wii U, but Nintendo Wii U having 352 gigaflops, that makes it so that it was both stronger than the 360. But technically, I mean, the PS3 was technically more capable than the 360. But I mean, problem is that no one managed to use all of the power that was in the PS3. That it was really hard to make games that used up all the power in it. So that's why I think that calculation is a bit odd. To say that, oh, the 360 is more powerful and stuff there, but yeah. Because I believe, right, that the Elite that came out, right, wasn't that more powerful. So technically the ones that are showing there, I think is technically with that model in mind. But yeah. But anyway, so the Xbox One had 1.31 teraflops. It offers 310 more gigaflops than the Switch. And then Xbox One S, 1.4 teraflops. Wow. It's only tiny wee bit stronger than the Microsoft Xbox One. But it's still a current gen system. But I believe the Xbox One S is what Microsoft is counting as a bottleneck for games not being able to get more good looking, because the Xbox One S is holding all other consoles back. Except for console exclusive, of course. That's why certain games being exclusive on the PS5 is kind of like a good thing. because of the fact that the Xbox One S, if for example all the games were multi-platform and there was no console exclusivity, then they had to make sure that all the games can run on the Xbox One S. And the Xbox One S is only slightly more powerful than the Xbox One there. Although technically, yes, it has HDR and everything. And then the PS4 had 1.843 teraflops. It offers 533 more gigaflops than Microsoft Xbox One. And then the Sony PS4 Pro has 4.2 teraflops. Yeah, 4.2 teraflops. And the Xbox One X, which is not an next generation system, that's just the 6.0 teraflops. Yeah. And also Xbox One, Xbox One S. Wait, so that's still the Xbox One. Yeah, that's just the new model of the Xbox One. That's not the next gen system. And then right, because it's Xbox One and Xbox One S, that's still like the same system. Just like a new version that came out for it, yeah. Yeah, okay. And the Xbox One X was of course the more powerful version. Because the Xbox One X is still an Xbox One. This Xbox must be old then. Yeah. That did not have the PS5 specs and the other things, yeah. So yeah. And I mean that doesn't tell everything of course, but yeah. We have to speed run now, kinda less than 20 minutes. Wrong. Okay. At number 18, Star Wars The Old Republic. For the PC, that's the MMO game. Number 17, World of Warcraft Wrath of the Lich King Classic for the PC. Number 16, High Warriors Definitive Edition for the Switch. Keep in mind, I had a hard time remembering exactly which of the characters were new, because there's technically no new content compared to the 3DS version. Now, I never played the 3DS version, I only had the Wii U version. Then of course, on the 3DS there were also certain new maps introduced that wasn't in the original Wii U version, that was for the 3DS as well. I believe the characters that I'm 100% certain were new for the 3DS version was Linkle and the Boat of Red Lions. 3DS Hyrule Warriors new content. 5 new playable characters. Tetra, Toon Link, King Daphnes, Skull Kid, and the female version of Linkle. Okay. Yeah. So 5 new characters. Of course, I didn't end up getting Age of Calamity this year, or the previous year, so yeah. Which was a bit sad. So yeah, so it's 5 new characters. And of course there are more there were also, you know, some other content, I believe, some new maps as well. Because I believe the Wind Waker map was new. I think that might be the only one that's new, but I think there's 2 versions of the Wind Waker map, if I'm not mistaken. Because I don't remember or maybe it was. It must have been in the original if that character was unlockable. The Ratvio, or whatever it's called. The law rule version of Link. Which, by the way, the reason why he wears the bunny costume is, of course, because he doesn't have the moon pearl. Because, of course, when they go to your quote-unquote light world, so to speak, that counts as their dark world. So he needs to wear that because he's actually transforming into a bunny or whatever it is. Yeah, number 15 we have Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition. All expansions, Lord of the West, Dom and Lux, and Dynasties of India. Which, by the way, that was a massive amount of new kind of civilizations added in those and stuff like that. So, yeah. Dynasties of India also reworked the previous like India thing into calling it something else. And of course they updated the tech trees and stuff like that and some things, and yeah. The campaigns are really cool, except the campaigns are really hard even on the normal difficulty, which is a bit, you know, and stuff like that. But I'm guessing I could probably train up and get good at Age of Empires again and stuff like that, like and stuff. At number 14 we have Diablo Immortal for the PC. I won't mention like PC or whatever. Always, like, sometimes I might forget and stuff like that. So yeah, number 14, Diablo Immortal for the PC. I actually did now end up enjoying it quite a bit. And I've done it without spending any money on it. And, you know, I do have quite a few legendary games. And I also have some legendary equipment and stuff like that. And it doesn't seem super awful because they've definitely improved a lot of things, you know, and stuff like that. Yes, still I do get it why there's a limit to how strong you can make your legendary games and stuff like that. But if you're planning on playing over a long time, then it definitely feels like there are things that you're gonna get over time, so that there are ways to do legendary runs or like runs, like full maxed out runs of the rifts and stuff like that. So yeah. At number 13 we have Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order for the PS4. And I forgot to put an extra thing there. One of those, you know, those things around the console, also PS4. Jedi Fallen Order is interesting because it's kinda, it's a bit Dark Souls-esque. I wouldn't say completely Dark Souls. The main problem though that I have in the game, and this is only really for the tutorial level, but only in the tutorial level there were a few times when it's not really clear where you need to go, and sometimes it's just like, oh wait, I can grab these. Like there are certain places where it's like, okay wait, can I jump over here, and then I'm just jumping to my death. Okay, so I cannot grab here. Oh, I can grab here. Like it's not clear sometimes where you can grab and stuff like that, but that's mostly in the tutorial because certain things on the level server, so you have to think that, okay, like my character is a Jedi, but he kinda, you know, keeps it hidden or whatever, you know, and stuff like that. But yeah, but there was just really a problem in the tutorial level and stuff like that. And once you get used to kinda how you can traverse and stuff like that, it's like, you know, you might say, oh, but they make it very obvious with how the camera is and how the level is, you know, and stuff like that. But yeah, but if you're trying to explore also at the same time, it's like, yeah. But that's only in the tutorial level. But then when you start going to planets also, you can choose kind of in what order to take on certain planets and stuff like that. And then of course customizable lightsaber and stuff like that. And the combat is really good actually. And then of course you get force powers and stuff like that. So it's really good. At number 12 we have wich for the PS4. It came out earlier of course on the Xbox console. But I wanted to wait with the wich because yeah, the thing is, it is very interesting. There were a few points when I kind of got stuck in the game, because there are certain times where you need to do very specific phone calls in order to progress. Sometimes it's easy to figure out because I always like try the phone call, but sometimes it's a very specific, you have to be in this location and then make the phone call and stuff that, And I never finished it fully. I did get really, really far into a certain point, but then it's like, okay, wait, where do I go now? Kind of thing. Because I've been to a place where, like, basically it's after you find a mill and stuff that, and you find out that, like, oh, some shit went down here, and then you're getting to another place where it's kind of like thing that, oh, the murder or whatever it is, I believe, has like left you a clue or whatever, and you're trying to figure out what that clue is or whatever, or something like that. And it's not very clear if the issue is that I'm doing things in the wrong order, because it's supposed to be like, oh, this clue is supposed to make it so that you have to go the correct path, and if you don't take the correct path, then you won't advance or whatever, and stuff that. And I don't know if it's just like something very obviously that I missed, because they keep it so that you cannot advance past certain areas until you do a specific thing and stuff that. And sometimes it can be hard to figure out. But I'm pretty certain I'm like on that file. I'm pretty certain that I'm almost like done with the game. That I think that I'm probably about like I'm probably about like 90% done, whatever with it on that file. I think I'm pretty certain, at least, because it kind of feels that way. At number 11, we have the Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind for the PC. So I ended up getting it on Steam. Yes, I had to pay for it and stuff that, because I couldn't get my original version to work on it, sadly, and stuff like that. But yeah, and of course I will continue on that Let's Play, by the way. You don't have to worry about that, and stuff like that, because yeah, it was just very frustrating when I did that thing, and stuff like that. And it was just that I was so used to how easy it was to do on my other character, but I kind of forgot that my other character is a wood elf. Wood elves, especially if you make them stealthy, they're like super acrobatic. They can like jump around like nobody's business. And of course I kind of should have thought about that, and stuff that, like, I could technically just have spammed jump around the place and just try to raise my skill as much as possible. Of course you need to sleep on a bed, however, and I don't think there were any beds there, so I wouldn't have been able to level up anyway. But still, it's like the higher your acrobatics go, or whatever, the higher you can jump, I believe. I don't think it's athletics, I think it's acrobatics and stuff like that, so yeah. Because yeah, your jump height actually does get affected, so that you can jump a lot higher and stuff like that. But maybe it also has to do with the armor you wear and stuff like that, so yeah. Now we're into the top 10. Now these 10 games are a lot ahead of the other games. Like number 22 to number 11, all of these games were pretty close to one another, and stuff that. Like, it isn't that, oh, the distance between the number 22 game and the number 11 game is not that much. And that might seem like really, really odd, but it was really, really hard to decide, okay, this game I'm gonna put at number 22 and stuff that, even though I would say yes, the Elder Scrolls just feel like a way better game than the one at the number 22 place, but it's still not like a massive gap between them, because there have been certain games on the year list where okay, like number 20 to 15 is like a tier, and then 15 to 11 is a tier, or whatever, like sometimes, it's a very, very big distance between number 20 and like 15, but sometimes it is very, very close between all the games. But the jump up to the top 10 games is very, very big. These top 10 games is probably 10 of the best games ever that I've had in a Game of the Year list. Like these top 10s specifically. Because of the fact that, yeah, the candidates were like, what was it at the end? I think it was 34 candidates. Or 33. But technically it was more. Because before I made it so that trilogies, if there were like a game that had several games in it, I would only have it count as one instead of several. Like Dead Island Riptide isn't an individual game and stuff that. Same thing for the Wolfenstein Alt History Collection and stuff that I made that things, because otherwise the list would have been over 40 games otherwise. But yeah, because I lessened it down with that, and I was able to cut down the amount of games to like 33 or 34 or whatever it was. But then of course, managing to cut it down to 22 games is a lot, but that also means that the top 10 games were very, very good. Because I was like, okay, these top 10 games needs to be the absolute, like, best. Because I already cut so many games from the list. So at number 10, Pokemon Legends Arceus for the Switch. I got this earlier last year. Very, very early on, I think in January of last year. The thing was that Legends Arceus did come out earlier than that, I believe. I don't think it did come out early 2022, but maybe it did. Or maybe it was late 2021 it came out, or whatever, but yeah. But Arceus is just pretty amazing. It definitely kind of changed the Pokemon formula. And yes, I did like Pokemon Sword and Shield. I did like that. I got Shield specifically, but yeah. I really like that. Although it is a bit wrong where the credits are placed, because technically when you see the first credits you haven't technically beaten the game. Because then it continues on for maybe 1 or 2 more hours, I think. Or depending on how quick you do the stuff. But then that extra content that is afterwards, once you've done that content basically, you get another thing. And I believe that's the point when you get to catch the other legendary wolf, so that you have both the sword and the shield, or whatever it was. But yeah, and then you get the proper credits after that. So yeah. So I know that there are people that are, oh, the game is so short, and then they just play up to the first credits, and then it's basically you're not finished at that point, because the 2 credits you get after the other thing. That's why they have 2 credits. So it's a bit misleading, but yeah. At number 9 we have Metro Exodus Gold Edition for the PS4. So Exodus was a big step up, because the previous ones that I had was also on the PS4. But that was the Metro, what do you call it? I forgot what it was called. Because there was a collection, I think there were 2 Metro games in that. And it was called something specific. Metro, oh, damn it. Yeah, Redux, right. Redux. Yeah, it contains, Metro Redux contains the campaigns from Metro 2033 and Metro Last Light. Yeah. Metro Redux. So that's was the 2 first games that was in the Metro Redux. And now of course you had the so Metro 2033, that was 2010, and then Last Light was 2013, and Exodus was 2019. And then Exodus has gotten the 2 kernels also, like a DLC, which I will probably get eventually, but yeah. So yeah. So that's the Metro Exodus Gold Edition. I know I'm probably gonna go a few minutes over the 1 hour mark. Then number 8 we have Elden Ring for the PS4. And at number 7 we have 20XX for the PS4. This one I need to talk about, because yes, I have no trophies for it, but I played it quite a bit. I played it very intense on the day when I got it. And the thing is, it's basically like a Mega Man X game if it would have stuck to the 2D formula. The thing is, the controls are absolutely fantastic, because you can play it for the first time and then just be like dash jumping around and not being like... I notice sometimes when certain people who are quote unquote bad at video games, now they can be good and they can like complete a game 100%, get the platinum and everything, and I still wouldn't consider someone a good gamer. That's the thing. In my opinion, there are people who have a certain understanding or whatever, like the way the brain works. They just have an easier time with video games, or just easier time because that whole thing with Link of the Past is a hard game, or Super Metroid is a hard game, and I'm like, well, these people are fucking stupid. Like, there's a lot of Let's Plays, or certain two specific Let's Plays that are trying to do this whole thing of, yeah, they're hard games. Yeah, sure, maybe in a randomized setting, yes, then they're hard, but otherwise, no. You know, the thing that's funny, maybe it's just that these people didn't play enough NES games, but the thing that we're appealing with Super Nintendo was NES games, a lot of them really, really hard. NES Metroid, hard. The Legend of Zelda game for the NES is also quite hard to finish and stuff like that. Even if you know what you're doing, even if you go in with 2 full potions, of course, first you need to find the red ring in the final dungeon. And sometimes, if you find it too late in the final dungeon, then it's like really, really bad. And it's very easy to go through several potions before you reach Ganon, so you have to go out and refill and stuff that. And even at maximum hearts, you know, it's still not 20 hearts in the first game. I think maximum was like, was it 13 hearts or 14? I think was maximum. But yeah, the thing was that the Super Nintendo versions were always kind of meant to be easier. Like Super Metroid was meant to be easier than Metroid. A Link to the Past was meant to be easier than the other thing. Yes, you might say, oh, but certain things are hard in it. Yes, but here's the thing, right? The thing with, oh yes, I know that there are people that fire in a bottle, lol. And I would say, like, if someone does a run through the game and they rely on fires in a bottle, then I wouldn't call that a legit beating of the game. I think, yes, it's more legit to actually use potions, because then you have to, like, farm money for the potions and stuff like that. And the thing is, if you, for example, in the beginning, you don't technically need to have, like, the most expensive potion, then you technically just need a red potion. You can also refill at the place. So that there's also something interesting that you can do if you struggle in the dark world. One thing you can do is not beat a single palace. You go into Palace of Darkness, you get everything from there, but you don't kill the boss. Like, you get the hammer and stuff that. And you leave, maybe you don't like open all the chests, but you get the hammer. You leave. Go into swamp. Or technically you don't need to go into swamp immediately, right? Oh, but it's best to do that way. Go into swamp, get the hook shot and stuff that. Leave. Go into Skullwoods, get Fire Rod. Go into Thieves Town, get Titan Smiths. Then of course with the frog you get the red sword. So basically you go into each other dungeon, get a item, leave. Do that with all the dark dungeons. And then the first dungeon you complete is the very last one, Trinex dungeon. And then you complete one more, and after that, for some reason, you can get the bomb. You can get the pink bomb after only beating 2 dungeons instead of having to beat a lot of dungeons. But that's technically because there are 2 red crystals, whatever. But I believe also that maybe it was already off the Trinex that I could get the bomb or whatever, that I only need to complete 1 dungeon. Because I believe that when you're doing like a randomizer, then the 2 red crystal locations are random. But when you're doing it, I think it has to do with the sequence, that the red dungeons are supposed to be Palace 5, I think, and Palace 6, or maybe it's Palace 4 and 5. And so that, but when you complete Trinex first, the game thinks that you're beating the last dungeon and you're ready to go into GoTY and stuff that into Ganon's Tower. And I think what the game does is the game checks, do you have the item from the dungeon? Yes. And then it doesn't really check for the crystal. But if it sees that you have the last crystal, because I believe that after I did Trinex, I was able to get the pink bomb immediately after that. And I was able to get the gold sword. And use the gold sword for all the remaining of the dungeons. And stuff that. And of course, you know, so that's pretty interesting that you can do things that way. And I kind of call it like a stupid run and stuff that you can go in and do that. But yeah. But I mean, but you technically only really need a red potion early on and stuff that. Of course, the thing is, in the Dark World, of course, you can do certain things kind of out of order. But technically, once you get the hammer, for example, if you get the hammer, so technically, when you're in the Dark World, the most effective things, if you want to have an easy time, though, is not doing that, because then you still need to delve into the dungeon, so you kind of need to understand the dungeons to get the dungeon item. But then instead, get the hammer out of the Palace of Darkness, immediately leave, go into Swamp Palace, get the hookshot, should be easy enough. Once you have the hookshot, you need to go to the place. You need to go to the place where the bridge kind of is out in the Dark World, and then you can hookshot over to the other side. Yeah, you can hookshot over to the other side. And then when you hookshot over to the other side, well, technically you can. Well, can't you get into the thieves? Can't you get into the Kakariko thing with only the hammer, though? Like if you go into the light world, and then you go into Lost Woods, and then you go out on the other side, don't you just need a hammer? Because the giant rock that the rock that you need to pick up is not one of the darker rocks, right? Like you don't need Titan Myths for that teleporter. Because otherwise, technically, you only need to get the hammer from Palace of Darkness. You don't need to get the thing and then go into the light world. Now, of course, you do want to get the hammer and then go so you can like pick up the flute and stuff that you do want to do that. But then you can, for example, go into Thieves Town and you can get the Titansmith so that you can get the upgraded sword to tempered level. And of course, you can technically also, when you have the hammer, once you get the hammer and you go into Thieves Village or whatever they call it, the one in the Dark World, you can get the what do you call it? You can get the 1.5 magic. I'm pretty certain though that for some reason that I have memories of having the 1/4 magic, which apparently was never put into the code of the game. Or maybe it was. Maybe it was in a certain special version of the game that somehow came out. And in the PAL version or whatever. Because I don't know, man. I remember having 1/4 magic. Because I'm pretty certain that I had it on my save file. Now my save file was really slow because of the fact that I didn't find like Moon Pearl right away. I remember being stuck for a long time. And stuff that. And then when I found the Moon Pearl, I felt like really, really stupid and stuff that. But I know what it was because I do remember clearly how long the magic meter lasts, and that was way longer than what the magic meter normally lasts. And you have to know that yes, the PAL version runs at a different speed and stuff that. But I don't know. And I do remember, yes, I did see like screenshots of like in a beta version of the game that had a 1/4 magic in it. But I definitely feel that I wouldn't mix up my memory like that, especially consider how much I played that game and stuff that I remember clearly having 1/4 magic. And maybe there's a bug that can happen that can somehow make it so that when the magic bat gives you the 1/2 magic, it gives you 1/4 instead. Or maybe it is a glitch that causes it, I don't know what it was, but yeah. Anyway, let's continue with the list. At number 6 we have Death Stranding. So Death Stranding I was worried about getting, of course, because I thought, oh, what if I don't like it and stuff that, walking simulator. But, turns out it's actually really good, and the melee in the combat is actually pretty good. Yes, there are some shooting weapons you can also use, but yeah, you can beat the enemies up and stuff that, and you can like knock them out and stuff that, so it's really cool. Of course, if you kill stuff, you need to burn them with an incinerator. Although technically one thing you could do, at one point in the game I thought that I was stuck, and I was near the or quite close to the end of the game, and I was like, oh no, that corpse I forgot to burn, and then it caused one of those explosions to happen, and that happens like after a certain amount of time, after you have killed something and you don't bring it to the incinerator. But I think it was so many corpses that I killed, so many minutes, because at one point I just decided to, I'm just gonna go nuts on these enemies just to make this one mission easier. And then I was really worried at that point, because it got to a point of where I would load the file and then immediately I would die just a few seconds in and stuff that, and then that's when it checkpointed, and then I thought, oh no, I have to like replay from like 10 hours back or 15 hours back or whatever, But apparently there was a way so that you could load a certain file and then you continue on from there, and then the timer being reset or whatever, or it not counting or whatever it was. That I forgot how it was, but basically you're not stuck at that point. You can basically still continue on the game, which is good, and stuff that. And I can understand, like, haha, if he would have wanted to, he could have made it like super punishing. But then here's the thing, that if it's not punishing like that, so that you can just kill as many enemies as possible, and then yes, you get the whole thing that, oh, yeah, you forgot to do the thing, blah blah blah. It caused another accident to happen. The thing is, you can just continue on where you left off, but maybe it was just because I'd gotten into a certain boss fight and stuff that when that happened, I was in the boss fight with the giant thing and stuff that, like with the guy who is kind of the bad guy, the skull person thing or whatever you call him. I forgot what you call him, but yeah. And it was during that when the thing happened, when the whole corpse, stuff that, because I didn't burn it and stuff that, but yeah. But maybe it was just because I'd gotten that far, because otherwise it seems to be no reason not to go lethal on enemies and not to like kill the enemies and stuff like that, but yeah. And then at number 5 we have Tales of Arise, which is of course kind of like a reboot of the Tales series. It is very, very interesting. The voice acting is very good. It kind of also has a certain trope, but that's kind of true in a lot of animes. And technically it's something I think is true to fantasy as well. That it was something that was supposed to be early on in fantasy games, and certain fantasy like literature, I forgot if it was technically in books or if it was in other media, or if it was in games where it first showed up. The whole thing, the reason why you have to like drink in certain MMOs, or not MMOs specifically, but in role-playing games, or like if you're a spellcaster, or why do you have to drink? But sometimes it's actually more than just having to drink. It's not really that they drink and then they cover magic. Technically the thing in the beginning, I believe, was that when you're spellcasting, you use up a lot of energy, so you have to eat a lot. So that makes it so that spellcasters that cast spells, they are very hungry. They get hungry very, very easily. And that's just because they expend a lot of their energy, like their physical energy, when they throw spells. So that they need to eat and drink and stuff like that to recover. So yeah. And I know that in like D&D, right, it's like you rest, right, correctly to recover it. So that they not like eat or whatever, but still, you get what I mean, right? And in a lot of animes, that's kind of something that they've gone with in certain animes. How if there is a girl like spellcaster, or even if it's a boy spellcaster, it has the whole thing of, oh, they get hungry all the time, and then you're like, oh, why do they get so hungry all the time? Oh, they're using up a lot of energy and stuff that and stuff, so yeah. Then at number 4 we have Tunic on the PS4. Excellent game, can be quite a bit of a challenge though, even though, I mean, there are ways to see things like, this boss is so hard, and then, lol, throw fireworks at the boss from a distance. Yeah, the first real big boss that you fight, you can actually attack it from above. You can basically get into like a room above, I think it is. And then you can just throw down fireworks from above, and then you can go down or whatever. I think that's how I dealt with it or whatever, because I found another path into the boss room. But yeah, the fireworks are really, really powerful in that. And it's pretty interesting also how they're meant to keep certain things hidden. Like you can have like an instruction manual, but then you start understanding more of the language and stuff and then you unlock more things, you know. I can also like how you found that place where you could customize your fox. Although the way you do it is a bit weird. Like, why couldn't they make just like an interface for it, or be like, oh, once you have been to that room once, you should have been able to unlock some sort of customize like thing, or that they should add that via patch or something like that. Something that lets you just go into an edit mode where you can edit the thing. And then you have like certain options of like face options, and then it will be all the different colors, and then like the scarf. But instead, so you could do each section individually, because there are certain times when you affect several areas at once of the coloring of the thing, you know, of the character. But yeah, Tunic is of course feels Zelda-like, but it also feels a bit Dark Souls-esque, because you can die extremely quickly in it and stuff like that. And of course I was lucky enough to figure out with the statue pretty early on. And I feel it's easy to do also to figure that out, and that, especially if you played Zelda 1. Because in Zelda 1 a lot of people say, oh, the only reason why children completed NES games was because of Nintendo Power. But if you didn't have Nintendo Power, you kind of became a better player. And the people will say, oh, you just bomb random spots in a Link to the, or in Zelda 1, that's how you discover the secrets. But I feel that is untrue, because often in a lot of locations where you can bomb, it kind of makes sense, because the distance of between, like on certain walls, you can notice, okay, like this wall formation on this screen looks like this, like it's 3 or 4 wide, and then all the other paths are not like that. Also, then you obviously bomb at this spot. There are certain places where it seems like very obvious where you're supposed to bomb or you're supposed to burn something. And yes, there are certain skins where it doesn't make sense, like along the coast. Yes, there is a full section of wall, but that also makes it very weird. Like, okay, because there aren't that many sections where it's only one path of wall like this, where it's used like that the entire way, because usually there's like structure to things and stuff like that, so that kind of makes it stand out and stuff like that. So yeah, at number 3 we have Vampire Survivors Legacy of Moonspell. So I count in the normal Vampire Survivors for this as well, but I would definitely say that Legacy of Moonspell probably made it get a bit more. Technically I have 100% of it, by the way, so yeah, except I haven't done a recording after that of having 100% of it. I actually also did a run with Trouser, although technically it seems like you're earning the money pretty slowly, sadly. But what I'm guessing is I should have used the gold eggs on Trouser, because the stronger Trouser gets, or I'm guessing the more luck you get, the better it gets. Because if you have very high luck, then it's gonna get the candy box and the candy box turbo thing. The candy box turbo thing can basically give you any evolved weapon. And the thing is, the way you get money later on is basically just by picking up treasure chests, pretty much, because enemies are not gonna drop money. But I think that that's maybe why you wanna do the bone zone with him instead. Bone zone might still be a better level to gain money in. So that, because you gain enough money, then you just buy a shit ton of eggs. And I spent all my eggs onto the tree, or Christmas tree, which I planned to do a special run on. and we're still gonna do some special runs. Maybe we're gonna do some no move challenge, but I definitely feel like I wanna have more eggs before I do so. Technically, the main problem is I like to move around with the 3, but I would still almost count that as a no move challenge, even if you're moving around, because the 3 just moves so slowly with 90% reduced movement speed. Because there's like, will you have enough time to make it to certain locations? Maybe. I mean, yeah. It's interesting, but yeah. And then at number, so keep in mind that the top 3 is even higher than all the other ones in terms of how close they are, or how far away they are from number 4, for example. And at number 2, the runner-up, or technically the 2 runner-ups. One was Vampire Survivors Legacy of Moonspell at number 3. At number 2, this game almost took it, by the way. This game was so close, so damn close, on becoming number 1 instead. Because I had to because basically, if I ever do like a top 100 games of all times for me, then this game will definitely rank above what the number 1 game is. And that's just because I feel like I will feel more nostalgia for this game a bunch of years later down the line. The thing is though that the game that became number 1 became it because, of course, during this year, yes, it was better and it was a really, really amazing experience. But when it comes to like several years later down the line, the game that I will remember more from is probably from the number 2 game. And this game was so close to winning, and I will explain why this didn't win compared to the other one when I talk about the number 1. But number 2, it's Chrono Cross, the Radical Dreamers edition for the PS4. So I should probably explain it here, but this game never came out in Europe, in the PAL region. It came out in the US, so unless you imported it, and it was expensive and you had a multi-X chip. I didn't have a multi-X chip as I've explained on my PS1. I did have a thick PS1 at first. That's the one that you can mod. You put a seating unit in the back, and it was called Killer something. Or maybe it wasn't called Killer X or whatever it was. Because I know that there was a gun that was called something from a certain place. It was called Fixaren.se. And they had like a light gun that was really cool. But they also had like a seating unit, and I think it was called Killer X. And the reason why you needed that is to be able to boot up the system into a special mode. And technically you did need the cheating device, but the cheating device is still cheaper than multi-X shipping your console. And multi-X shipping your console means you lose the warranty on the console when you do the multi-X shipping. But there are also consoles that are sold that are like multi-X shipped from the beginning, where the place itself offers you warranty and stuff like that. But yeah. But the thing is, with the cheating device, the Killer X, you also got a spring with it, and that spring you put into the hole on the PlayStation thing near the lens. There's a hole, and that hole makes it so that because the spring is in the hole, you cannot close the lid fully, so to speak. The lid would still stay slightly open. Now you can push the lid down completely and keep it closed, but the thing that allows you to do is open up the lid a little bit. Not full. You don't open it fully, you only open it up a certain way. And it makes it so the disc will still spin. So the thing is, when you open up the lid, it won't count as you opening up the lid. So you trick the game into thinking, oh, I'm still running. So that means that the way to bypass the checking for the region lock, as it were, is you put in the European game first. It checks when it comes up the PlayStation logo thing, when you're putting in a new game, that or the whatever the noise was. When it does that, and that it's about to finish, it has already done the check. Then you switch into your Resident Evil 3 Nemesis, the UNTSCS edition, the American edition. You put that in. Now you skip the thing. You skip the region check. Now you also needed a special RGB cable kinda to use as well, because otherwise you would just have a black and white picture. So yeah. But yeah. And that was really cool, and it of course came with all of it. The cheating device came with all of the things that you needed to make the thing work. So it came with the cable and stuff that I didn't need to buy that. It's an extra thing. But yeah. And yeah, and the cheating device was of course needed though to go into the startup thing, because basically you can go into like a boot menu where you can put in like a game ahead of time without the game starting automatically. And then you just start it up, and then when you start up the game, of course, you open up the lid, and then that's when you switch game. The disc will of course continue on spinning, but there's also a way to make the disc stop and stuff like that. But the thing is that the lid, when it's open, you can open it quite a lot, but it won't go into its full size, so it tricks that it's still being closed, so that the game is still running. So it still think it's running a whole game when you put in the NTSC game. So it never thinks that you switch the disc. It doesn't register it, because otherwise, if you, for example, would put if you would do it without spring, and you would put in the European game, and then when you would open up the disc cover, then it would just stop the game, because it just stops it automatically and stuff like that, and goes back into the PlayStation boot up menu and stuff like that. But with the spring, of course, it doesn't count as you opening the lid even when the lid is open. It doesn't count as opening it. So that's why you're able to do the disc swap and stuff like that. But yeah, so Chrono Cross never came out in Europe, and I would definitely say that I actually consider it to be better than the Chrono Trigger original. There's references to it, and the thing is, in this game it's more than just time travel. The way I consider it, it's more like an alternative dimension, because the funny thing is, during your first playthrough, I would recommend that you don't stick with the woman in the beginning that introduces herself to you, that, oh hey, I want to join you and stuff that. Like, you have to refuse her a lot, and if you do so, your childhood friend will be able to join you and stuff that, which is a lot better, because otherwise she just won't remember you for whatever reason when you go with the other woman and stuff that. So yeah, because otherwise you miss out on the character. And the thing is, it's impossible to get all the characters during one run, because eventually, I believe once you have recruited all the characters once, you get like an item, I think it is, that allows you to instantly recruit all the characters right away, I believe. Although I feel really bad, because during the prologue part, I equipped, because when you start a new game, plus stuff carries over. And the weapons actually do carry over, even the prism stuff. I think it's called prism stuff or rainbow stuff or whatever it is. They do carry over. But the thing is, these weapons, I did equip one of them in the prologue, or two of them in the prologue, or so, with some other good gear. And then those things just disappeared. Poof. Just like that. When I started another new game. So I'm guessing you're not supposed to equip things in the prologue and then you lose them. That's why when I tried to do that, that's when I did a video, if you remember, when I was fighting that boss for an extremely long time, and I recorded over like 3 hours, and I was still fighting the same boss. That was because my damage was so low, of course, and that was because, yes, I didn't have any better weapons, because I'd of course sold all my other weapons, because now that I have this rainbow thing, why would I keep my other weapons? So that made it so that I had to like so that I didn't have a strong weapon anymore on my starter character on Xenoxis. I didn't have any strong weapon anymore at all. Wait, what's it called? Xenoxis? I forgot what the actual original name is on the character or whatever, but yeah. But it just felt really bad to lose out on that. And of course there is a lot of endings I still need to get in that, you know, and stuff that, and more characters to unlock, so yeah. But I did finish it, of course. But yeah, but I mean, and you definitely see the whole thing that, oh, this orphanage, oh, Luca was in that orphanage and Krona and the other guys. And then you get to an area where you see them basically, but as tiny figures or whatever. And I don't know if they're supposed to be their ghosts or their spirits or whatever it's supposed to be. But yeah, and there's obviously one guy who is obviously Frog but in human form, but it's not called Frog and stuff that, even though it's probably is supposed to be him. And then there's another character which very obviously is Magius and stuff that, so that's pretty interesting. And then at number 1, the game idea for 2022, although recorded in 2023, is Tactics Ogre Reborn. So Tactics Ogre Reborn is very impressive. Very, it's almost weird to say because this came out earlier than Final Fantasy Tactics. So it's basically like the big brother of Final Fantasy Tactics. Now also people say, oh, this game is like the little brother to Final Fantasy Tactics just because, oh, Final Fantasy Tactics is more popular or whatever, or Final Fantasy Tactics maybe sold more, whatever. But then it just feels so odd, like maybe if they're counting the PSP version and they think that, oh, that's the first version because the game never came out in Europe or whatever, like the first one, because this is based on the first game, on the first Tactics Ogre game and stuff that back on the Super Nintendo. But the thing is, Tactics Ogre already has some death in it, and the thing is that you can see your path line that you took when you play the game. And I didn't mean to go evil on purpose, but I thought it made a lot of sense for my character just to kind of go like an evil path. I didn't know that it was meant to be like an evil path. Yeah, sure, burn down this village and stuff that. But that's what the Lord ordered and stuff that I found out from the other character, that, oh, it's the Lord that ordered this, and or the Duke or whatever that ordered this. And I'm like, hey, I'm following your orders, you know, and in war, you know, sometimes you don't have to question it or whatever, you know, because I was curious, like, okay, what will this path actually take me? And stuff that, and that was pretty interesting, you know, and stuff. And I decided to stick with the Duke, like, no matter what and stuff that. So that was pretty interesting. But then of course when you, after you save Kashua, by the way, because you get kidnapped and stuff that, well, technically she comes with him willingly. But the thing is, when you save her, this is the dialogue option, and your uncle, or when he dies on the bed or whatever it is, or a relative or whatever it is, and because I have a hard time remembering some things, I know what they're called, but sometimes I can't use some recalling names. But he like warns you of like a certain choice coming up or whatever, like, oh, you have to make the correct choice or whatever. And then I decided to, of course, you could kind of figure out what choice would be the wrong one. That you say that, oh, you want her back for power because you want to install her as the princess and stuff that, or the queen or whatever, because she's actually not related to you at all, that you actually have another sister in the game or whatever it is, and stuff that, yeah. And you find out who your true sister is, by the way. Also, you know, when you actually get to recruit her as a character, but yeah. But if you say that to Kasha, you know, that, oh, you wanted her for power, you know, or you wanted her to install her as the queen, you know, and stuff that, or as a princess, you know, just because of the power and stuff that, then she gets mad, of course, that, oh, they wanted to use me, you know, to install me as the princess, like that's what they wanted to do, that other side, you know, and stuff that. And then she gets angry that you wanted to do it as well, you know, and stuff that. So she stabs herself with a dagger or like a sword or whatever it is, and then she dies. And it's like super tragic, of course, for the character. And the thing is that the ending is so dark. During that pattern choice also, the guy who is the hero that has one of the really powerful weapons in the game, that guy ends up getting wounded and not remembering things. So you actually get his weapon and stuff that, which has been interesting. So yeah, it's really cool. And then of course, when you beat the game, you get the option to travel back in time, or to basically to time warp back, and then you can make the other choices that you did not make before. But any battle that you have previously had not done, you're not able to like play at max level, or basically play at the level you're at. So normally, otherwise, you would be able to use your advantage of being so many levels above the enemies. But if there's a battle you have never done before, then they're subject to scaling, and then if we scale your characters down, of course your equipment won't get scaled down, so you will still have your OP equipment and stuff that, so that is very nice and stuff that. The main problem was of course that I had problems with the final boss, because I lost so many of my characters, because when going to the final area in the game, kinda there are like so many paths that you can take, and I tried to take as many of the paths as possible, but that also meant that I lost a lot of my characters. And I lost one character in particular that I had spent so much time investing into, so many upgrades. I lost all my Fusilier characters. And I don't know if there will be more Fusilier marks that I can come across during the other playthroughs or whatever. Because I'd done the thing that I had recruited the Fusilier character that allowed you to get a certain amount of Fusilier marks. But after that, from what I'm supposed to understand, is you're supposed to be able to buy the Fusilier marks in a shop somewhere, but that shop never seemed to appear. Or maybe I didn't choose the right path or whatever. Maybe you need to choose another path to unlock those Fusiliers. So maybe it's only available in that really deep dungeon that you can go into to test a lot of floors. But yeah, no, but yeah, Tactics Ogre Reborn, excellent graphics, excellent soundtrack. The soundtrack is really banger. The classes are more interesting than the Final Fantasy Tactics classes, in my opinion. And equipment matters a lot. Of course, there's also certain characters that are really interesting, like the archers and stuff that they benefit from. When status effect are on enemies, they will have a lot easier time dealing very high damage and stuff that. There are like certain classes that are very like almost like all in, like Berserker and stuff that. But then, oh, why would you have a Berserker when you can just have one of the Dark Knights, so to speak, or Void Knights, or not Void Knights, Terror Knights. They cause things to get scared, and when things are scared, they can take pretty big damage. And it's just like, also the thing that's really good with them is that they can get an ability, and I believe regular knights can get that ability as well. There is a certain ability that you unlock at a certain level that makes it so that you cannot get knocked back, which can save you from falling into holes, which is kind of the ability that you want to have at a certain place in the game, so you don't lose a lot of your characters. Because, oops, oh, this very tight space, oh, this enemies you hit with, it's like, oh, you just fall down the hole, oh, now that character is dead forever. And so you could just use chariot to go back in time, but I wanted to keep avoiding that whenever possible. I only used it during the final boss fight once or twice, I think I did. And that was mostly because I didn't want to replay the boss fight again when I had like an insanely good attempt and I abused my dragons. But the thing is that when you're there, the thing that you shouldn't do is just attack the boss and then just wait. You need to move away from the boss also, because that seems to reduce the damage that you take when he attacks you. Because sometimes when he attacks you, he does just an insane amount of damage, and sometimes that damage is very low, and sometimes the damage from the middle of the room is less. I don't know, is it the distance from the middle that matters? What is it that sometimes these damage numbers seems random? Because there is a thing that you can have so that you regenerate a certain amount of magic points every round or whatever it is, or the thing that lets you do the special attack, because you want to spam your strongest special attack as much as humanly possible in order to kill a boss and stuff like that. But yeah, you can basically have a thing so that you, what is it, you regen also some health every turn or whatever it is and stuff like that. So you can make yourself super tanky. But what you need to do basically, once you get to the point where you unlock the Lord. Yeah, I think it is Lord, right? That you unlock for the main character. At that point, you technically want to switch to all the other classes. Because once you switch to all the other classes once, those abilities that they can have gets unlocked permanently for the Lord. Because you want to have as many abilities for the Lord as possible. And stuff like that, yeah. But anyway, that's it. Yeah, 40 minutes over. Sorry about that. But I had to take my time, with it. So this has been the Game of the Year video for 2022. Recorded on the 9th of January 2023. So yeah. I'm planning on making a vlog maybe tomorrow already again. Because I want to talk about the plans for games I'm getting this year. I've already gotten the game for the January, which is the Crisis Core Reunion. Really good game, by the way. Will probably be on the 2023 Game of the Year list, though. Probably. But I already have plans for what I'm getting in February. I might get a Warhammer 40k rule army book, maybe. I will get a certain game that I know 100% that I'm getting, or that I'm gonna get for myself. But there's also another game that I technically want to either pre-order it during February, or I will pre-order it during March, which is of course the Resident Evil 4 remake. But the thing is, should I get another game also on my birthday, get like 2 games? Because I'm afraid the first game, depending on how much single play content it got, if it has very little single play content, then will it feel like a waste? No, probably not, because I will probably play it online, because I did play Street Fighter 4 Ultra, or not Ultra, but Super and the regular Street Fighter 4 a lot online. And there were 2 characters that I got really good with, and stuff like that in those games. And that's kind of the reason why I'm getting this other fighting game for my birthday. Which the fighting game was called something else at first, and then they had the cease and desist. They had to change it. And the newest character that came out has a very certain accent from a certain United States place. And this character kind of reminds me a lot of T-Hawk, because one of his moves has him spinning in the air and like slamming someone down, and that reminds me of the move where T-Hawk grabs you like that, grabs your head, and then he jumps up with you and he just spins and you slams you to the ground. Which is a 360 input, by the way. So the question is it a 360 input in this game, or is it an easier input? Is it a shortcut input? Because Street Fighter 4 had shortcut input, you didn't need to make a full spin. And maybe that's why I got to spin so easily, because I didn't need to do a full spin. But I always kept spamming the thing, so that when I played Zangief in Street Fighter 4, I would keep spinning when I was in the air. I spin the stick all the time, as well as possible, and then I just mash the button when I landed, or when I was in the air, or I kind of softly started mashing it without making a move come out. And then when I landed, I would instantly do a spinning pile driver. And you can also do a spinning pile driver on wake up if you're mashing it. And it had good priority. And then of course when T-Hawk came out in Super, T-Hawk became my main. And I kind of defeated people that were way higher ranked with T-Hawk and stuff like that. Because not only does he have the condor dive, when that's just jump into the air and then hold a certain button down and you do the condor dive. But then you have condor spire. And condor spire, depending on if you do light, medium or heavy, condor spire can go in different directions. I believe it can go like this. But then it can also go up like this. And I think also down. I think it is. It depends on the input. So, stuff that's, yeah. Because I don't think all of them go forward. Actually, I need to check that up just. Because we're done with the Game of the Year list now. So, I just need to finally check this. No. What did I press there? Discover how Google works. No. Super Street Fighter 4 T-Hawk. I think move list, right? Yeah, Mexican Typhoon. Yeah, that's the was supposed to be a full circle, which is now just this. So it's 3 out of 4, so it's almost like a full circle, but not really. And then of course you can also use 2 punch buttons, and then you get the whatever you call it. And then you have Conspire with 1 kick or 2 kick buttons to get the EX version. Tomahawk Buster, Condor Dive, Neutral or toward jump, and then 3 punch buttons or jump and 3 kick buttons. And I believe that is like different speeds of Condor Dive depending on if you do the kicks or the punches. And then he has close standing light punch, fast standing light punch, close standing medium punch, crouching light punch, crouching medium kick, fast standing heavy kick, neutral jump heavy punch, crouching heavy punch, fast standing medium punch, throw, crouching light kick, crouching medium punch, diagonal jump heavy kick, diagonal jump heavy punch, diagonal jump light punch, diagonal jump medium punch, fast standing heavy punch, fast standing light kick, close standing heavy kick, crouching heavy kick, close standing light kick, close standing medium kick, close standing heavy punch, diagonal jump focused attack, diagonal jump medium punch focused attack, neutral jump heavy kick back throw, neutral jump medium punch red focus attack, back dash, diagonal jump light kick, neutral jump light kick, neutral jump light punch, neutral jump medium kick, supers and ultras. Yeah, the super is that, which is also two almost full circles. So it's basically just a quarter less than a full circle. So it's like this. Start from this move here to this instead of start here and go this. And there's super and there's the ultra move and then an ultra 2 move. And then command normals, body splash, jump, down and heavy punch, thrust, peakies, diagonal, facing the enemy and light punch, and elbow up is jump and down and then medium punch. And I have a rating on the moves. Mexican Typhoon has 7.3 rating, the super move has 8.3 rating, 8.3 rating for Ultra 1. Control Spire has a 7 rating. Condor Dive only has a 4.6, which seems rather weird because Condor Dive, I feel like if you time it correctly, you can actually punish people with Condor Dive. So if you make them miss a move or if you like bait them into doing the wrong move, you can use Condor Dive them and then you can instantly punish someone with Condor Dive. And there's just certain characters that cannot really deal with Condor Dive. Sure, you can easily use counter it with a, sure you can, but sometimes like if the enemy is throwing out a Hadouken, for example, and if you time it correctly, and depending on the speed of the Hadouken, you can just get in the Condor Dive. Then that's just, yeah. Or it might be actually that the jump thing might be that's the EX version of Condor Dive. Maybe that's it, but yeah. Condor Dive didn't get that good for rating though. 8.5 for closing standing light punch, fast standing medium punch. Yeah, there's some good ratings for moves, some that doesn't have that much. 8 rating for the body splash. I don't think I used the body splash that much though. T-Hawk is a mobility based grappler, while other characters like Zangief or Hugo are stuck doing much of their mid to long range games by creeping forward. T-Hawk is unique in having Condor Dive, Condor Spire and reasonably quick walk speed. But with strong normals it can be difficult to keep T-Hawk out and even more difficult to escape from him. With the presence of his Tomahawk Buster and Reading/Ultra. I'd rather prefer Mexican Typhoon, by the way, but yeah. Pros of Theox, tied for the highest health and stun in the game with Zangief and Hugo, has ways to rapidly build meter and then use the meter to bypass many traditional forms of zoning. High ground and high mobility, constant Theox, among the worst focus attacks in the game, no application for X-Red focus, has very narrow applications for each of his anti-airs, making it difficult to deal with characters that have variable jump trajectory. Very large body can result in high damage combos from enemies. Keep jumping in, mix up with Condor Dive, Yab Splash, Churn, Condor Spire Block, return to rule number 1. Yeah, pretty much. Popularity 26th on their thing. Or Dragon Ball Fighter Z, do they have... I want to check for Blue GoTY here. Okay, tier ranking 41, popularity 24. Okay, so Ultra Instinct Goku is highest. Followed by Bardock, Kitty Goku, Cell, Kid Beardot, Gohan. It's weird seeing Bardock being that high up. Bardock has a lot of votes though. When you're counting like the votes, Vito has the most votes. And he has the highest, but he only has 507 votes. I mean, some of them I feel is correct. At the bottom I put Nappa followed by Krillin. Krillin I wouldn't agree with being that far in the bottom, considering how much he was buffed in a certain patch. Yeah, they put Blue Vegeta almost down in the bottom there. Interesting. Yeah, with alert number 15, I don't know, man. I mean, you can get good with Widell, but that feels like very much like sorry if you get good with Widell, but Widell has a lot of things. Of course, they did kind of buff her quite a lot, so yeah. But he isn't the most popular, right? No popularity. 38 overall. Is there a way I can see the popularity of characters? Most popular characters. Oh, Goku Black is number 1 on popularity. But on point characters, the most popular seem to be Android 21, Bardock, Adult Gohan, Cell, Muriel, Goku Black, Vegeta, Cell Trunks, Anchor, Vegeta, Goku Black, Goku Tien. It's so weird that there aren't people that are using... Like, I mean, Tien makes sense. But Anchor, I would expect there at the top list if people know what they were doing. It would be like you would have Broly or Broly DBS, like Zed Broly from like the Zed series and from Super Broly as well. That just seems like really weird. Like, why isn't he put as Anchor? Where is he, by the way? Where are you? Super Broly is... Okay, so people mostly have him in the middle. That's his most popular spot. Anchor is only 23.3%. Common partners, yeah, it's actually he's most common used with the other Broly, which of course kind of makes sense. What play skill level? I wonder if I'm counting into these stats. Wait, let me check one of my characters that I really play. Goku Black, I know I play Goku Black quite a bit. Global. Norway popularity 2. Oh, Sweden shows no popularity for him. But let's go with the other Broly. Where is that Broly? Because I saw Super Broly there on the list. Where is the other guy? Yeah, he's just called Broly. Yeah, okay. Yeah, Anchor is 31%. Middle 31.9. Point 37.2%. And he's most commonly paired with Goku Black. But what do they mean with play skill level like 1 to 10 there? Like, is that how high ranked they are? No, I don't know if it's used from people that are registered on the site, if those are the ones that only gets counted and stuff that. You know, is the question. Because it seems really weird that you would expect like Broly and like Super Broly to be a lot higher. And stuff like that. But anyway, this has done it for the Game of the Year show. Of course, this was also kind of like a vlog for the 9th of January. Hopefully I'll be able to upload it today. I'll probably just stick the entire file here and stuff that into the description and stuff that, mark everything, copy that. Here we go. So yeah. Hopefully I'll be able to upload it immediately now before I go and start playing some games again. But I hope you all enjoy this. I might wait a few days though with doing that vlog with the updates on stuff, because we're still pretty far away from my birthday. And I want to know 100% before I do a video and say, oh, these are all the games I'm getting for my birthday, or this is the stuff I'm getting for my birthday, and then it ends up being completely different. Because I want to, of course, on the old list I have here, I want to get the games that I'm missing from the list. I've of course already gotten the whole Crisis Core reunion, and of course the Halloween sale games I've already gotten and stuff like that. So the only games I'm now missing are the God of War Ragnarok, and then the stuff that I'm meant to get for the Switch. So I'm missing the Pokemon Violet and Scarlet. I'm missing Cadence of Hyrule Season Pass. I'm missing the Pokemon Shield Expansion Pass with 2 expansions. Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity I'm missing, plus the expansion pass of course, and the Pokemon Brilliant Diamond I'm also missing, and of course the God of War Ragnarok Digital Deluxe Edition, which I mentioned first. But those are the only games I'm missing now from the list I had previous year, because I did make a list of like games that I wanted to get, and like the Nintendo games I was 100% certain that I was gonna get, you know, and stuff like that, but I did not end up doing so. Stuff like that, yeah. So there's something, because I want to make sure that I get them during this year then, you know, and stuff like that. I want to make sure that I 100% guarantee get them, you know, and stuff like that. But yeah, but anyway, I see you all next time.